So I'm going to go over alignment today for you because this is going to help you in everything else you do. Daily life, Pilates, yoga, any type of movement, running, everything. So we're just going to talk about basic alignment points on the body. So the first thing, we want to start at the feet. So we want our feet, if you come up to your hips for a moment and find the hip bones or the ASIS right here, right in the front of the body, and you want your hips right over your foot. So basically your feet are hip distance apart, okay? So you don't want to be out here, but you don't want to be right here either. And be right here. That's perfect. And then you want to look at the feet and how they're lined up. So something you can do is you can find a straight edge. So I'm just going to use my little guy here. I'm going to put it on the floor and I'm going to line up the outer edge of my foot with my dowel. But you can use a yoga block, the lines on the floor, the edge of your mat, what have you. And you want the outer edge of your foot to line up, not the inner edge, the outer edge. So you're going to do that on both feet. And what probably happens when you do that, if you've been walking with a turnout, it's going to feel like your toes are turned in, like you're pigeon-toed, and that your knees are turned inward. Like if you bend your knees like this, they're going to come together. And that is simply because you've been walking with a turnout. And when you walk with a turnout, your toes and your knees have to go the direction that you are traveling. And therefore, the femur internally rotates here, bringing the knee effectively inward, and all the little muscles and bones in the toes turn effectively inward. So when you go to neutral, everything turns in. So you might need to do this by degrees. If this feels very uncomfortable to you right now and it takes a lot of tension or a lot of holding it, then you're just going to put your feet straight. What feels straight to you right now? And then we're going to move up to the hips. Now you always, if you take nothing else from this video but this one tip, then you're doing really great because you need to get your hips stacked over your ankle. So if I drop this line here, ankle to hip should line up. What I often see is this, okay? And the problem with that is your weight is on your toes. It's more on the front of your foot. And those are really small bones and muscles like I talked about just a minute ago. And it's going to put a lot of pressure on them. This is a really thick, heavy bone back here in the heel. And that's meant to take all your weight. And it's also beneficial for the pelvic floor. So you're going to move this back here. Pelvic floor is going to feel better. Your low back's going to feel better. And your feet are going to feel better. And the next part of the pelvis, go back to those hip bones, the ASIS. And find the pubic symphysis or the pubic bone. Those should be in the same plane, okay? So what I mean by that is that you shouldn't have your hip bones farther forward than your pubic bone. See how that creates this big curve in my low back? We are supposed to have a curve in our low back, but it shouldn't be that big. And you also don't want your pubic bone ahead of your hip bones. So see, you don't want that either. You want them all together. All right. And then from there, you want to be sure that your shoulders are stacked up over your hips. So you want to look to your rib cage for that first. Right where the ribs start to curve in the front, that should be in the same plane as the hips and the pubic symphysis. So you don't want this. Okay. You want to drop it into the body. This creates a lot of tension back here. So a lot of times in dancers, what I see is this rotation in the pelvis and this sticking out of the ribs. And it just creates so much tightness in the back. So you want to bring your ribs down. And in future videos we're going to do, there will be instructions on exercises and stretches to help all of this become a lot easier. So don't get frustrated if this is hard for you. And then you want to look, so it should be shoulder, hip, knee, ankle from the side. And then the arm is going to be, the elbow should point straight behind you, so the elbow pit, I guess, should be pointing forward, and the thumb should be pointing forward. We tend to be a lot in internal rotation, so if the front or the back of your hand right here is what you're presenting forward, you need to externally rotate. So you might have thought, well, if I bring my ribs down, this is bad posture. Bringing the ribs down is not poor posture. What is poor posture is this internal rotation from the shoulders. That's what caused that hunchback look right here, see? And when I bring my shoulders back into alignment, it all fits back into place. All right, so that's your basic alignment points. It's going to help you in your future videos. And if you are standing in line at the grocery store or you're taking a walk or whatever, I want you to think, if nothing else, bring your pelvis over your heels. All right, I look forward to seeing you in future videos. I hope you learned something in this one. Thank you so much.